All right, I know we're a few minutes late here, but it's certainly going to be worth the wait. What a wild card weekend it was, and my goodness, yeah, I made the joke to you, Mark. What was it last week after John Harbaugh was let go? That there was an opportunity to do the funniest thing where Harbaugh goes to Cleveland as the head coach and Stefanski then goes to Baltimore as head coach. Well, now we've got Mike Tomlin in the mix. All three of them can just switch seats, and we can have ourselves a nice party in the AFC North. No, seriously, unbelievable Tuesday that I've gone through a crazy amount of emotions in just the last 24 hours alone. Um, it's wild that the news of Mike Tomlin stepping down, not being fired, stepping down as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just in the last 4 hours, the news breaking, and honestly when I first saw the news, my initial reaction was sadness, and I wasn't expecting that because obviously, as you know, and as our listeners know, I've kind of been pounding the table for this result for a little over a year and a half, almost 2 years probably now at this point. And my initial reaction was sadness because I instantly was like, this is really all I've known for the vast majority of my Steelers fandom. And so it was a bittersweet moment, but honestly, where I stand now is this overwhelming feeling of hope and excitement for the future, especially after such a brutal letdown of a performance where it was an offensive showing that was worthy of, some of the worst possible takes that you can have about an offensive performance. To buttress that with the news of Tomlin calling it quits and therefore meaning there's going to be a whole staff reset in Pittsburgh, an entire culture reset for many ways. There's a lot of hope on the horizon, and it's exciting. And with the full knowledge that it can go south, they can make the wrong hire and this all goes south. But it's better than knowing what the outcome is going to be in 2026 ahead of time. And that's kind of what it's felt like the last 5 years. You knew what was going to happen before it even happened. So overall exciting, but honestly, really surprised. Did not expect this outcome.
I feel like you guys got a victory Tuesday. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I like if you
Yeah.
would have not fired Mike Tomlin, we'd be sitting here getting ready to lament the Pittsburgh Steelers. But now it's almost like whatever. How do you even talk about that game? Because everything's going to change. The offensive coordinator is going to be gone. The defensive coordinator is going to be gone. I think there's going to be a huge roster turnover. No more Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. I mean, got old guys there. I think Cam Hayward might not be coming back, which that's a real bummer. But TJ Watt's probably on the trade block.
Yeah. And so it's a weird feeling for the Pittsburgh Steeler fandom, but it's the right move. And I'm pumped for you. I'm pumped for a lot of Steelers fans to say, hey, you get to now behave like 30 of the 32 other NFL teams where you fire a coach, you hire a coach, you see how it goes, you fire that guy, you hire, you know what I mean? Like this is what every other team for the most part goes through, except for the Ravens and the Steelers and the Patriots for the, but now they're getting their taste of it. Now 3 coaches in 5 years for the Patriots or 4 years. So it's, like welcome back to the NFL, right? Like welcome. You and Baltimore have been living on this island.
If the eventual hire does become a total dud, will the Steelers, admit to that mistake and move off of it quickly, or are they going to say no? We're determined to make this 4 head coaches in 70 years. That's where the problem would lie. I hope that this would mean that they'd be light on their feet. That if it is a dud, likely if it's a dud, it's going to be that they're picking high in the draft and they're having some brutal seasons, which would be territory that they haven't been in. So that would hopefully lead them to say, okay, nope, this didn't work. We got to move on. But yeah, you always hope that that's the case. But the fact is we've got a chance for something new to happen. And that's really all you can ask for at the end of the day. So
instant reaction, 3 names you're like, I want to see them at least in the building for an interview.
So Kurt Cignetti, I would love. I think that would be. He has a lot of Pittsburgh ties. His family's from
He's in
there.
his mid-60s.
He's in his mid 60s. But I could see that being like a cool option to bring in. But no, Marcus Freeman was also really intriguing, but I just don't. I've seen Adam Schefter already report a lot that Marcus Freeman is 100% staying at Notre Dame. But if there's a team that could lure a coach out of college, it'd be the job at Pittsburgh. I mean, would you agree that
Yeah, the
Pittsburgh's
stability.
the best job available? Like they could almost have their pick of the litter, even despite the roster situation,
Yeah.
because
I think
any head
Baltimore,
coach.
I could see a coach saying, I like Baltimore a little bit better only because Lamar Jackson.
Because
Like it's a
Lamar,
coach like
yeah.
who says, I want Lamar. But I agree with you. There's plenty of coaches I think would look at Pittsburgh and say that's a better situation than Baltimore.
And a lot of coaches would want their opportunity to mold from
Yeah.
scratch, right? And so there's like there's that opportunity plus the being part of Pittsburgh. No, but aside from the college coaches, because I know that's probably far fetched and kind of saying that almost tongue in cheek. I do think Chris Shula is a really intriguing guy that could potentially be the Mike McDonald um mold of being a young, vibrant defensive head coach, but has been in close proximity to Sean McVay. Hopefully has connections, you would think, through that tree to maybe get some offensive connections in the building. I would be open to that defensive minded head coach if it's in that vein. Um, I mean, Brian Flores does seem to be the leading candidate on the betting markets. I don't know how I'd feel about it. I think he's a good coach. Um, but I also am worried about him being a little too strict and not strict in the sense on the players, but strict in the sense of not being willing to take advice from others. And that's kind of what I want out of it. I want a head coach that's willing to come in and learn from a staff and build a
Yeah.
staff, identify talent and foster that talent and come up with some, fresh ideas. But I haven't been able to give it Clint Kubiak. That's another name, offensive guy. And I think Kevin Stefanski has earned an interview. I'd be interested in seeing what the possibilities from that could be in terms of an offensive minded head coach who can run the football but do interesting things with the passing game. And we've never really seen him have a quarterback to be able to implement his system to its fullest. So, yeah, those are a few names I think I would
Cool.
pop out there
Yeah,
right at the
I don't
start.
disagree. Brian Flores is the name that jumps out to me.
Yeah.
Wasn't Mike Tomlin the defensive coordinator for the Vikings when they hired him?
He was.
So there's something fun
And
there.
he knew him, so
Yeah.
that would be the only difference is when he got hired, everybody was panning it because they're like, "Who
Yeah.
the hell is this guy?
Mike
He's a
Tomlin, yeah.
first-year defensive coordinator." So that's on the table too. I mean, it's harder to get away with that in today's day and age because everyone knows who assistant coaches are now with social media. Like, we would have probably never heard of a Clint Kubiak or a Chris Shula in years past, but perhaps there's some unknown guy out there that we're all going to say, what the hell were they thinking? And turns out to be good. I don't know. But, I will say, I hope that it's not just Art Rooney that's going to be the deciding force here. Cause I really would like to get some younger input into this decision. And I hope Omar Khan stays because I think he's earned the right to be a part of this head coaching search as GM. So a lot of craziness. I know we're going to talk a lot more about the head coaching search in the off season and in the coming weeks when we, learn more about interviews and stuff. But we've got playoff football to discuss. Your Chicago Bears with an incredible victory over the rival Packers. A lot of insanely close games to get to. So we'll start with our recap of Wild Card round and look ahead into the divisional round as well, coming up next. I'm sure a lot of people, when they saw Rams Panthers was going to be the first game, kind of wrote it off as well, that's, Of course, they'll put it in that window. Nobody's going to really watch. And it turned out to be an electric, down to the wire game with Bryce Young perhaps putting on one of his best performances in the most crucial of moments. But the Rams, Mark, do pull it out. Matt Stafford with an incredible throw and an amazing catch by Colby Parkinson there at the end, and just not enough time there for the Carolina Panthers to make that run and tie it up with a field goal. So 34-31 is the final. I'll toss it to you with the first initial reactions with this question. Did this game give you any concerns about the Rams, particularly their defense, given how the Panthers, despite not running the ball very effectively, putting up 31 points on them?
I mean, listen, to me, it felt like it was just another Rams game over the last month and a half. This is what they've looked like for the last almost, 2 months now of football. So no, it didn't like give me a concern. It just is like, oh, kind of like how I felt about the Eagles offense.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to change, right?
Yeah.
I was Mr. High on the Eagles, and I thought, oh no, well, the trends have just stayed the same. I will say, to me, the story of the game was really how impressed I was with the Panthers, just their ability to say, we are going to be in this game. There was a moment where it was going to be 21-7, and then everything flips, right? And all of a sudden now it's or no, it was Rams were going in, and all of a sudden it was like it went from it was going to be a two score game to now it's like down to like a field goal game with 17-14. And ever since at that point in time, that Saturday feels like forever ago. And then
happened.
And then Carolina just completely comes back. Listen, I think what this game proved, and I think Carolina fans all agree. I haven't seen any backlash. Bryce Young got his 5th-year option picked up. Pay him $21 million. That is pennies on the dollar compared to quarterbacks like Dak for $60 million and Jordan Love for $57 million or whatever it is. There's not a better option for you in Carolina next year. Now, we may be talking differently in a year from now because of next year's quarterback class and maybe some free agency or whatever it might be, and not wanting to have to pay Bryce Young big money. But he definitely earned it. He played well. He played well enough to win that game. But credit to Matt Stafford. And to me, Stafford and Josh Allen were the two quarterbacks that looked like, wow, they are the guys with the experience who lived up to the hype, who understand we're going to do whatever it takes to win a football game and win football games. Very impressed by the late heroics of Stafford and that offense. It's just white tight end after white tight end after white tight end who all look the same, just making big play after big play for the Rams. They survived. They advanced. I'm not panicking if I'm a Rams fan. Playoff football's hard. You win a football game. You move on to the next one. You reset for it. And for the Panthers, hang your heads high this season. You accomplished a ton. Think of where you were just a year and a half ago.
Yeah. No, this was a win for them. They won the division. They took what I still think is the best team in the NFL down to the wire and was able to put up 31 points on them. There's a lot to be happy about in Carolina, and it feels like you've at least got a quarterback you feel that you can build with. And now it's just about, building upon this foundation that they've established in such a short amount of time.
And for everyone who says, why is a team that has 8 wins just because they won the division have a home game? If Carolina was on the road, that would have been a blowout. But that's why, so the whole narrative around if you're a 12-win 5 seed, you should be the home team.
Yeah, people want the whole playoffs restructured. I like this because it makes divisions mini championships to compete for.
And we had great games because of a lot of that because of that. You know what I mean? Really great football games because Carolina was hosting the Rams. That ended up being a great football game because of that. Josh Allen and the Bills having to go on the road. And I know Jacksonville won an extra game than them, right? But they were a 12-win wildcard team. If they were home, it might have been different than if they had to play on the road at Jacksonville. So to me, that was a win for that argument.
How are you feeling down 21-3 half? Packers crushing the Bears for that entire first half.
Yeah.
Bears defense not looking good at all, which we knew that they weren't anything spectacular.
No.
That fourth quarter, Mark, 25 points, and rightfully so, everybody's talking about the throw, the 4th and 8.
Caleb Williams had the 3 best throws of the NFL season. We've done this.
Yes.
How many times have we done this? Like the throw of the weekend, Caleb Williams. He had, of course, the touchdown winning, game winning pass to DJ Moore. That was, the throw. And then he had the DJ Moore touchdown against the Browns, where it's the catch part 2. That's the throw. And then you have this throw, the 4th down, rolling to his left to
It's
Rome
just insane. That throw was incredible.
So let me just start at the first half. I loved, when I look at the totality, win or lose, I think Ben Johnson had a very shaky first half. Things I love, things I give him credit for, things I'm going to praise my head coach for. Love taking the ball after winning the coin toss. Go get points on that first drive. They end up with a field goal. They controlled the ball. It kind of settled the crowd, right? Like, okay, our offense scored. We had a long drive, not a 3 and out. Like, okay, settle. Things I also loved. I loved the being aggressive on 4th down. The Chicago Bears did not punt that game. Torrey Taylor, the punt god from Iowa. Now, remember, he's an Aussie who didn't play football in like high school and all that. This was the first game in his existence he never punted, because he's punted for 2 years with the Bears, punted at Iowa. They did not punt this game, the Chicago Bears. I love that. The Bears defense, we're not fooling anyone. It's not insulting to the defense. You're not good enough to not get a lot of help from your offense. And your offense is going to help you how? By sustaining drives and by going for it on 4th down. So I loved all of that.
Even more so now with the unfortunate loss of TJ Edwards.
That was a nasty injury too. He got it
Yeah.
was like he was going to plant his foot as some guy kicked him. So when he landed, his ankle just snapped. It's just gross. So those are things I loved. The thing I struggled with my head coach in the first half was, I need you to not let your team get down 21-0, meaning whatever was said at halftime was right? The adjustments were great. You have to find a way to make some of those adjustments sooner, in between the first and second quarter. The first half was embarrassingly bad defensive football. And you're an offensive guy, Ben. Like, for you to say, well, I don't know defense, and he never said that. And I think Ben Johnson probably knows defense, because I think in order to be a great offensive guy, you have to know defense, right?
All of these guys know, yeah.
So we need to work on making those adjustments earlier. Like, you cannot let yourself get gashed the way you got gashed. Jordan Love was magnificent in the first half. 3 touchdown passes. Everything was wide open. Everything was working. And I was really frustrated with my head coach that it didn't feel like he did enough. They would pan to him and he would give these looks of anger and frustration. I'm like, dude, go grab Dennis Allen by the fucking collar and say, dude, let's change it up, right? Let's go to zone, which they did in the second half. You're getting man beaters all over the field. The Bears, when completely healthy, if at the start of the season, still lack some team speed at the linebacker and safety and corner position. But these guys are now beat up, and you're in the first round of the playoffs, and it's cold, and you're on second and third stringers, and you're still going man coverage. And I know Dennis Allen needs another year of resetting to get more of his type of guys in. The Bears haven't had a pass rush all season. And if you're going to play man coverage, you need a pass rush, right? To give the guys a chance to stay with their guys and to make a play. So it's really frustrated my head coach I felt like letting the game get out of hand. And offensively, then obviously part of that is I was beyond frustrated with the cutesy play call on 4th down that led to Caleb's first interception in the goal line. Loved going for it there, but I did not love the play call. It's a 4th and 1. You put in big personnel, and it's this weird fade back pass that then Caleb has to just throw it because it's 4th down. You're not going to take a sack. It gets that interception. Run the football there. Just run the football. Ben has had a couple of these moments where it's just run the football. And I feel like every time it happens, it's he's going to learn from that. We're still doing it. We're not learning 100% from it. Obviously at halftime, I was in a world of hurt. I got to be honest. I know a lot of Bears fans are saying, I never gave up hope. I
No,
wouldn't
yeah,
say
you gotta feel like this game's
I
getting out of
wouldn't say I gave up
yeah.
hope, but I was at the point it was like, please fight. Like, please fight. Like, please, please, please fight. Lose the game 33-24, but you fought, right? Like you really fought. Um, and when the Packers started with the ball in the first drive of the third quarter and the Bears got a 3-and-out, I thought, holy shit. It literally did was like, holy shit, here we go. They're back. And then they give it right back to the Packers. And that's when I hit low. Like when they go when the Bears then went 3-and-out, I mean, that's when I was like, the tweets were, I think I tweeted out like Green Bay is still the boogeyman. It's going to take, this was a great step in the right direction, but it's going to take more, right? And that fourth quarter, I think we have to address the fact that Matt LaFleur choked. Matt LaFleur's play calling
Absolutely.
was a choke. At the same time, the Chicago Bears went from 0 to 60. They were a completely different team. The defense played with a completely different team speed. The defense made adjustments into zone coverage. Montez Sweat actually started showing up, and there was real pressure. They put so much, the crowd was incredible. They got in Jordan Love's head so much. He'd only had one false start in his whole career, and he had two in the fourth quarter. I mean, not false start, delay of games.
Yeah.
That's insane. That is an insane.
I didn't realize that. That
and,
is
and
very
so to
damning.
me, that all screams what? It screams one team fell apart, coincidingly, coincide what you know the term. At the same time, the Chicago Bears won the game. I'm not going to sit here and say Green Bay lost the game. I'm not going to sit here and just say Chicago just won the game. Obviously, it's a both. Both teams put themselves in the positions to lose and win the game. Chicago and Caleb Williams, to me, I don't know how to describe it. I don't, because to me, the only thing I can relate it to is like watching Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes over the last couple of years. Caleb does things where I'm just like, I don't understand. And it's not like Lamar or Jaden Daniels. Lamar and Jaden Daniels, you watch it and you go, well, shit, that dude is just God's greatest creation, right?
Mhm.
Like they are athletes that are not of this world. Allen and Mahomes and Caleb, what they do is it's just like, are you cheating? Like, what is happening? Like, this doesn't make sense. That throw, that angle,
Yeah.
the precision, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It's magical. It's incredible. He is a real special talent. I thought Colin Cowherd said it best. It's like when you have like a gifted child, it's like there are kids who are 12 years old and graduating high school and they're like, or 12 years old and they're in college already. He's like that, where you're like, okay, so what? I still have to like make his cereal in the morning. I think Colin said like he puts his pants on backwards. He's 12, but yeah, he's also he's inventing atom bombs and you know what I mean? Like that's what Caleb is. He is going to he's going to complete 55, 56, 57, 60% of his passes. A lot of that is throwaways. A lot of that is he's not willing to take sacks, which is brilliant. And then a lot of that is he just misses some things. But you have to accept, in the same way we accept Josh Allen, where it's like he just does things that are otherworldly. It doesn't make sense. We'll talk about the preview coming up, so I don't want to give too much away of my thoughts on that. I will say I did think that the post-game press conference stuff, the post-game like fuck the Packers stuff, I'm all for that. Anyone who's upset by that is like the Mina Kimes
That's so
media.
silly, though. Like,
And
I
I
don't
don't, yeah,
understand.
I'm not saying Mina Kimes got upset, but when I say the Mina Kimes media, I hope you think you know what I'm talking about. Like there was a story that was going viral and a video of an old Packers player talking about how George Halas one time walked into the Lambeau it was at Wrigley Field. It was the Packers Bears at Wrigley, and Halas walked into the visitors' locker room and grabbed Lombardi. He's like, "Where's Lombardi? Where's Lombardi? Where's Lombardi?" And this is they've been already going at it for years and years. And Lombardi walked over to him and was like, "What do you want, George? Like, what do you want?" And the guy said that Halas just looked him straight in the face and said, you better bring your A game today because we're gonna kick your fucking ass. And they like laughed and shook each other's hands and walked out. Like,
Yeah.
this is football.
But
Like,
that dynamic, they
we're
laughed,
laughing.
understood it, they matched. That dynamic is a little bit different with Ben Johnson, Matt LaFleur.
But I love that.
They genuinely hate each other.
I love
which
that.
adds to it. That makes it more intense.
That's all started from Ben Johnson too, which I love even more because Matt Eberflus was sitting courtside at a Bulls game with Matt LaFleur. Remember that photo?
Yes.
Yeah. Eating popcorn, being chummy. No. Not my head coach. My head coach is a psycho. And I'm okay with the league and guys like Matt LaFleur. There was Stephen A. Smith today was like, Sean McVay is friends with Matt LaFleur. They all hate Ben Johnson. I'm like, bring it on. Hate him. I don't give a rip. So listen, it was an amazing game. I've been on a high. The season is now, everything is gravy, but I do think, and we'll talk about it coming up, I do think that was the hardest game for the Bears to win. I said it to my brother Phil. We called each other after the game. I said the Bears can win the Super Bowl now. Why? That was the hardest game to win because it's the mental game against the Packers.
Slay the dragon.
Everyone else is just, do we have the talent? Do we match up? Can we beat these guys? Not the Packers. It is all of those things, plus it's the Green Bay Packers. I will say we're not talking enough about the Ozzie Trapillo patellar tendon tear. Number one, we're not talking about because you just lost your starting left tackle, who's a rookie who has been electric in the second half of the season. And we're also talking about the fact that that's an injury that like 60% of guys barely come back from. And if the 60% that do come back from it, I think I read like somebody like 30% of them never are really the same. Now he's a rookie. And so maybe, and with modern technology, like you think it's getting better, but the Bears are in the market again for left tackle. So that's really annoying. And so that's going to be a huge factor for the rest of this playoffs. But bear down, great victory. I got a ton of stats I could rattle off, but it's no point. It was great. It was amazing. And fuck the Packers.
That's right. That's right. They are sent home packing. Your team lives to fight another day. The Buffalo Bills pulled out a 27-24 win over Jacksonville in a game that teetered back and forth, but really looked like Jacksonville was starting to get some momentum there in the third quarter. Into the fourth quarter, both teams score 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, but it was the Bills late in which Jacksonville wisely let them score. I was like, at first when Josh didn't get in, I was like, oh, that's the worst possible thing Jacksonville could have had happen right there, and the best possible thing for Buffalo. But then they score on the very next play and gives Jacksonville a minute to drive down the field. They can't do it. Big difference in this game, Mark, was the 2 turnovers. And so I feel like despite so many other aspects of the game that played into this, that's what you're going to fixate on, is the fact that Trevor, despite how great he played down the stretch this season and how great at times he played in this game, he threw 3 touchdowns, 2 picks, one of them really, really bad. That's just not going to cut it. You're not going to lose the turnover battle like that against the Buffalo Bills and live to fight another day. Buffalo gets their first road playoff victory in what was like 30 years.
Yeah, since the early 90s.
And so that's a big thing for Josh Allen and Buffalo too. Not only did you have so much pressure to win this game from a standpoint of, okay, Josh is the best quarterback in these playoffs, you also had the pressure of, we had to do it on the road as well, and had that, drought hanging over us. So they were able to exercise a couple demons this past weekend. So tough break for Jacksonville. I really thought they had an opportunity to not only win this game, but actually go to the Super Bowl. That's what I did predict when we released our predictions before the wild card weekend started. But Buffalo now full head of steam, got the best quarterback in the AFC, bearing down. Huge win for them.
Yeah, listen, I was a little disappointed with Trevor Lawrence in the sense that the reason the Jags were in the spot where they were at, which is hosting that playoff game and getting to 13 wins, is because Trevor Lawrence played like the MVP in the fight. Like if the MVP was from week 8 on, he would have won the MVP. It was not even close. His numbers, his impact and I just felt like it wasn't there. And I felt like there was one quarterback who played like the MVP, and that was Josh Allen. He played a
Yeah.
near perfect game. Um,
One target for Jacoby Myers, by the way, or one catch. I don't know how many
it
targets, but it
just
was
didn't.
few. That's I mean, the guy that literally helped spark your resurgence
Yeah.
as an offense, and you don't feature him.
Yeah, now Parker Washington, like they
Yeah,
have
he
guys,
had a
right?
great game. Great game.
Like they have guys, and so it's tough. But I agree with you. It just felt a little off for Jacksonville from the start. And I will say, for Buffalo, Joey Bosa really showed up. And we had talked about that signing in the offseason, like, oh, this is good. Like, this is going to be one of those weird things. Bosa's in Buffalo. He did exactly what you had him for. He didn't have an all pro year by any means. I don't even know if he had a Pro Bowl level year, but he was ginormous in this game at moments and was exactly what Buffalo needed him to be.
Yeah.
I don't want to undersell this. I think it's a giant win for Josh Allen. When you think of all
Yeah.
of the pressure for him to be the quarterback that needs a Super Bowl win the most in this playoffs, and to be the best player in this playoffs, which he is, to get one, it to me it opens the floodgates. I like Buffalo now very, very much in these next couple of weeks. So we'll talk more about that coming up. Disappointing for Jacksonville, but I loved what that reporter said to Liam Cohen after the game. Again, Jacksonville, they now have a very, very bright future. I think they absolutely are not going to be a one-hit wonder. If health and everything, you never know what happens. But if all things are considered, I don't see any reason why Jacksonville isn't competing for the division again next year and in the playoff picture again next year. They look like
Agreed.
things are just absolutely pointing up. It's a tough loss at home, but you lost to the best player in this playoffs who had maybe the best game of the weekend.
Yeah, exactly. You ran up against an incredible quarterback at an inopportune time, and yeah, you make one mistake, let alone two. It's likely not going to work out for you. The San Francisco 49ers go on the road as well. They get a road victory over the Philadelphia Eagles. Big game, and a kind of sloppy game at times, especially for Brock Purdy. He had 2 picks in this game, but the Eagles, sluggish, uncreative offense, really came to bite them in this game in several critical moments, including possession downs where they faltered time and time again. Saquon had a perfectly decent day. Jalen Hurts, 168 through the air and a touchdown. It just wasn't enough at the end of the day. And then on top of it, um, you're unable to fully capitalize um, in opportunities, and that's kind of what led to San Francisco winning 23-19. Christian McCaffrey, an incredible game, and that touchdown catch was I don't know how he tracked the ball
That's crazy.
in the air like that, but this really came down to a couple plays, right? That play in and of itself, that trick play, was massive, and a couple plays that I think Jalen Hurts left out there. It just seemed like things were kind of pushing, and that's kind of what I was saying last week. Things were trending in this direction for Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Everything always seemed off all year long, whereas last year, everything seemed to be clicking, and kind of the train just kept snowballing and going and going and going. This year was really clunky, and I really just think that's what ended up happening in this one. The opportunity was there. The San Francisco 49ers did not play a perfect game, and they lost George Kittle, which is going to be a big problem for them moving forward. But they made just enough plays to advance in this one, and Philly already got rid of their offensive coordinator, so that'll
Yeah,
tell you.
Pachulo's out.
Yeah.
But listen, I have to eat some crow on this game. I really did think Philly, with the experience being back in the playoffs, the rest, in fairness to me, Lane Johnson did not play. So maybe that was it. Maybe
Yeah.
that was, I thought he would play, and all signs are pointing to him playing, and then it was a scratch on that Sunday. I'm like, oh shit, Lane Johnson's out. This is not good. I will say this about the Eagles. I think This is this weird script that they're in, where this is 3 years ago, they lose in the Super Bowl. 2 years ago, they go 11-6, lose in the wild card, fire their offensive coordinator. Last year, new offensive coordinator, they win the Super Bowl. This year, 11-6, lose in the wild card, fire their offensive coordinator. So next year, they're going to be in or win the Super Bowl. That is the trend. All joking aside, they need to go get a Mike McDonald. They need to go back like a Kellen Moore, like they did. They've got to go find a creative offensive guy.
Mike McDaniel would be incredible in
Mike
Philly.
McDaniel. Sorry, that's what I
Yeah.
said. Mike McDonald. Mike
No, I knew you
McDaniel.
meant that.
And my big thing with the Eagles, as far as this whole game, is that AJ Brown has two ginormous drops, and then you have a head
Mhm.
coach that has to be separated by Big Dom from yelling at his star wide receiver. It just goes, what other organization has that? Like, that's
Yeah.
crazy. The only
And,
other
like,
time,
routinely, right?
yeah,
Like, it's just so many times now
Oh.
we've been talking about this AJ Brown situation.
Philly is too talented to be this dysfunctional. And I listen, he won the Super Bowl last year. You're not going to fire him. You're going to give him a chance with another offensive coordinator. But if next year is not again like we're back in the Super Bowl or things are really, really positive vibes, how do you not move on from Nick Sirianni? Because you look at you you look at how many coaches the Eagles would instantly become the best job available. You know, I think if Nick Sirianni was fired in a lot
Yeah,
of ways,
yeah,
like
I mean,
that
the
ownership
roster is
group,
unbelievable, and
that roster, that ownership group, you know what I mean? Like
you
that
get Howie
GM.
Roseman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and who's would be lining up to hire Nick Sirianni? Like it just feels like again we're allowed to question that. Jalen wasn't great, and we needed him to be great. He plays great in big games. He was not great in this big game. And as far as the Niners go, we'll talk more about them coming up. But I just think, yeah, the Kittle injury is it sucks so
That's
bad.
really
It
hard.
sucks
Yeah,
so bad.
with no Ayuk and they've weathered some terrible
Yeah.
injuries this year. It's just don't know how they
It's brutal, and so they have a really tough task ahead of them. But this was a huge win for them. The Niners haven't. I heard some stat. I'm going to butcher it now, but they haven't lost a wild card or a divisional round game, something like that, in like 20 years. Like the Niners, if they make
They
the
either just
playoffs,
miss the playoffs or they win a game. They
they
don't. They're
no, it's
not
like
one and
miss
done.
the playoffs or they make the NFC title game. Like it's an
Wow,
insane stat.
that's
It's an insane
crazy.
stat. Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Man, what do we make of Justin? Is this Justin Herbert's story? It's frustrating. It's also like it's a hard one to gauge because you can't fully blame it on Justin Herbert, even though he's fallen short in numerous playoffs now. That offensive line was so bad,
Yeah.
and it starts to make you wonder. There's been the comparisons of Andrew Luck to Joe Burrow. Where's the comparisons of Andrew Luck to Justin Herbert as well? That's a real bummer. I expected more of a Harbaugh Chargers team. They didn't commit to the run enough. They didn't produce nearly enough in any aspect of their offense. Defensively, I thought they had a great game plan and
Oh, they
did
were great.
well. And that's a shame that it was because their offense. You wonder if they had their two tackles. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. But yeah, it was a huge win, by the way, for New England. Like, don't want to discount that. The fact that they get a victory at home after all the tumultuous, few years that it had been, Drake May to get that win despite not a great performance by Drake May by any means, but he didn't create back-breaking, brutal, negative plays, and he ran the ball pretty well too. So, got to give them their flowers. But yeah, man, 3 points from the Chargers against an okay New England defense was pretty rough to watch.
Yeah, listen, I what do you do? I mean, 2 of your last 3 first-round picks are tackles, and they're both injured. You know what I mean? Like, they made a trade in season to get another tackle. Like, you can only overcome so much. I will say it has to turn around. Like, it has to be quick in this turnaround. Like, I like for Herbert in the playoffs, like, because listen, this era is quickly becoming the new era of like, okay, if Mahomes is Brady and Allen is Manning, like, okay, 1, 2. And then you have Burrow is kind of Drew Brees. And then, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like you start adding up all these names, you quickly then get to Herbert and you realize, well, is Herbert Phil Rivers? And then it's like, well, that's
Yeah.
funny because he's a Charger. And then you're like, so yeah, a really talented guy who puts up a bunch of numbers, but is never going to win anything. Certain guys in this era, are not going to win things.
Yeah.
It's just let's face the facts.
He's the Matt Ryan, you
So,
know?
yes, there are in every era there are great quarterbacks who just can never get it done. Some of it's not their fault. Some of it, I would argue, like Aaron Rodgers, if you look at the totality of the times he went to the playoffs and his playoff record, there's plenty of games it was his fault. There's
Mhm.
plenty of games his defense also stunk and gave up 44 points and 500 yards rushing to Colin Kaepernick, and he couldn't do anything about that, right?
Yeah.
But for Herbert right now, I would say it's 1-2. Two losses are on the team. The first one to Jacksonville, and then this year with your offensive line, like it fell apart. And then last year's loss is on you. So you're 1-2 in the playoffs as far as you're 0-3. One is your fault. I would say two is the team's fault. How many more times is it going to be the team's fault versus your fault? The tallies are adding up. He's the only person I have a
And at
tally.
what point does it even
Yeah.
matter, you know?
He's the only person I have a tally for. So it's crazy. I was disappointed in that game for sure. I will say this about Drake May and the Patriots. I'm not panicking if I'm them. They had a great defensive game plan. They have a lot of great defensive personnel on that Chargers defense. They came knowing that the Chargers defense was going to have to hold them to probably under 21 points to have a chance to win that game. So I'm not panicking. Inexperience, but you gain experience in just 1 week. I feel that way about the Bears. I can't not say that way about the Patriots. Young team that just gained a lot of experience in 1 week with a really good victory at home. I'm feeling good about the Pats. If I'm playing the Texans next week, we'll talk about that coming up.
For sure. Yeah. The final game of the slate was the Texans at the Steelers. This game was 7-6 for
The
the
whole
first
game.
3 full quarters of the game until things completely unraveled for Pittsburgh in the fourth quarter. The rest is history. 30-6 is the final there. Really weird game. CJ Stroud seemed completely lost
Oh,
for the first half and even parts of that third quarter as well. Single-handedly making mistakes. The 2 fumbles were inexcusable, and the pick in the third quarter on that first great drive that they
oh yeah.
had deep into the territory. I mean, this game could have been way out of Pittsburgh's hands earlier with that drive, but they end it with a terrible pick in the red zone there. And then, on the flip side, obviously Pittsburgh's offense could do absolutely nothing outside of the first 2 drives. First 2 drives actually looked promising,
Yeah.
and they were only able to muster 6 points in this game, and 0 points off of turnovers. It's that's pretty brutal. You won the turnover battle, which was really 3-0 because those last 2 turnovers were, kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. Seemed like the game was already over at that point. But yeah, 5 straight playoff losses, or I'm sorry, almost a decade of no playoff wins, and 8 straight playoff losses, for 7 straight playoff losses for the Pittsburgh Steelers. My goodness. Really rough way for them to go out. I imagine now Aaron Rodgers is certainly not coming back to Pittsburgh next year with Tomlin announcing he is gone. Meanwhile, the Texans, despite this big win, I don't think I'm terribly scared if I'm the other teams because of how bad CJ Stroud and that offense looked. You got to feel confident that if you have an offense that is remotely competent, if you can put up 17 points on this defense, you feel like you might have a shot to win. It's just, man, that front is so good and those corners are so good. It is the best defense in all of the playoffs right now. And so that's the one aspect that makes you a little concerned if you're some of the other teams. But all these other teams, Josh Allen, Drake May,
Bo Nix.
Bo Nix, that would be the one team, right? that you're a little scared about. Two amazing defenses going at it, but if I'm the rest of the AFC, I'm not terribly worried about the Texans. It was more. This was to me. This was way more about the Steelers' offense
Yeah.
being terrible than it was anything else.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Texans defense is very good. It's hard. It was hard for the Steelers to do a lot of what they wanted to do, but what they wanted to do didn't seem to be like it would be effective against a marginal defense. It was weird. It was a weird game plan, and Aaron does what Aaron does. Aaron's body language is just like, it's not my fault. It's someone else's fault. DK Metcalf had that one big drop early, and
Inexcusable.
he was just
Yeah.
like, all right, I'm not going back to DK Metcalf.
Yeah, yeah. So
That's what
you
Aaron
get
does.
DK Metcalf back. You don't have Darnell Washington, and you decide to not target DK for two and a
That's
half
what
quarters.
Aaron does.
And
If you make a drop, I'm out. I'm done on you.
Pat Fryermuth, 2 targets on the whole night. It
was
makes
not
no
right.
sense, man.
It wasn't working. It wasn't working.
And they manufactured touches, like
Yeah.
specifically designed plays for Jonnu Smith, who hasn't done literally anything all year. Like he has no redeeming qualities on the field. And they were like, "Oh, we got to feed him. Got to feed Jonnu." So yeah, that's all.
I'll say this about the Texans because we'll talk about them really quick coming up. But I do think that defense travels, and I do think their offense tried to give this game away. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't expect the Texans to have for this to be them. Their offense has not looked great, but this is the third straight year of CJ Stroud and DeMeco Ryans. And this is the third straight year they're playing in the second round of the NFL playoffs. They have 3 wins. They're 3-2 as a coaching and quarterback duo in the NFL. And so I think CJ Stroud and DeMeco Ryans, this might be like that whole like, okay, hey, crap, we survived. Phew, we can't play that badly again. So I wouldn't expect CJ Stroud to have all these fumbles and ugly play like that, right? Like I think it's one of those. This was a really tough road game in a really tough environment, and you clearly were a little underprepared. Now the Nico Collins concussion, he's probably going to be out. That's going to really hurt them.
Yeah, short week. That's
on a short week. So I will also say this to end our chat on this game. As much as I loved having football last night, it's so unfair. Like
stop doing Monday Night Football.
It's got to stop. It's got to be 3-3 Saturday and Sunday. It's got to be 3-3. And it's even. I'll take it as a Bears fan, but it's bullshit that the Bears and Rams are playing the last game Sunday night for the most rest when they were the 2 teams that played Saturday.
Yeah,
like that is. I'll take it. I'm a Bears fan, but that's fucking insane.
It doesn't make sense.
It does not make sense at all.
Why would you give
a game on
teams
Monday,
rest advantages over each other in the playoffs?
It makes
not fair.
It just leads to it looking shady, and you don't want that NFL. You have enough people who claim script and shady and all this anyways, and NFL rigged. Get rid of this. Get rid of this. ESPN can do Monday Night Football on Saturday night. Who fucking cares? Just do. You know what I mean? Like it's the playoffs. Just make the change. So that's my soapbox on that.
All right, let's get to the previews. First game of the weekend is going to be Broncos hosting the Buffalo Bills, 4:30 on January 17th. Denver's favored by 1.5, so it's basically a push game here with the Broncos getting the nod because they're home. Yeah, I mean it's the second best defense going up against Josh Allen, and so where is push going to come to shove at some point? I will say I don't think the mile high advantage is that great when you're talking about Buffalo coming to town, right? So like Buffalo's not going to be phased by the elements. They would much rather have had the Texans team come to town, right? Or Jaguars, of course. So I think the home field advantage is somewhat of a wash here for the Buffalo Bills coming into town. But I will say, if that pass rush of Denver has a remote impact early on and starts to really make Buffalo one-dimensional, then we could be really talking about a Broncos victory, because I don't think then in that case that the Broncos need to score very much. If they can keep Buffalo's run game in check and just make Josh Allen have to constantly drive down the field. I don't know what the weather's going to be like, but I think the Denver Broncos are built much more to like sustain a drive, right? Than the Bills are. So that to
Yeah.
me is going to be key.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Cook is a beast, and if they can run the ball, Buffalo can sustain drives. I mean, he was the rushing leader, or
Yeah,
is I mean,
absolutely they can.
I
Yeah.
mean, he's so yeah, I agree with you. The game plan for Denver should be absolutely. We do not need We do not need. I keep saying Dalvin Cook. We don't need Cook running all over us, right? Like, we do not need that because Josh Allen's going to make plays, and he's going to make a lot more big plays and incredible plays if Cook is moving, and you have to really account for him.
Yeah.
I pose this to you. Of the 8 quarterbacks left in this playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a 1v8 matchup.
1v8. Wait, look, can you explain
Meaning
that? Wait.
Allen's my
Oh,
1
yes,
and
yes.
Knicks is my
I
8
think you're
of the
right.
8.
Yeah.
1v8.
Yeah. I mean, you could obviously argue the way Stafford's playing, maybe he's one. But absolutely agree. That's when you're talking about the playoffs, you tend to go, who's got the better quarterback? I'm going to take that team.
Yeah. Now the difference is that, and the reason I think this is going to be a really close game, it's going to be a nail biter, is because I think Denver has the coaching advantage and Denver has the roster advantage. But Josh Allen's the best player left in this playoffs, and he's because Mahomes is injured, he's the best player in the NFL in my opinion. And so can he do it another week in a row? I'm going to say he can, and I'm going to say that if the game is tight, it favors Buffalo. Why?
Agreed.
Because Buffalo, how many tight, big playoff games has Buffalo been in the last 5 years? A bunch. And so they have the experience. They have the continuity of the experience. And listen, they lost Gabe Davis. That sucks. But I also think losing Gabe Davis, again, it creates clarity. Sometimes when you lose a weapon, it creates some clarity with your offense. This is an offense should be about running the football and their tight end play. Well, that's all they got right now. They got tight ends, Cook, and then Shakir. So focus on those weapons, game plan around those weapons. That's enough with Josh Allen to win a football game. I like the Bills in a really close, really brutal game. I think it's 27-24, and it's a absolute heavyweight battle. But I'll take Josh Allen to win in a heavyweight battle.
Yeah, I mean, and to clarify my statements from earlier, I just think that the Broncos' best chance is if they can stymie James Cook, they can hope that they can get Josh Allen into a mistake because he'll start to try and maybe play hero ball, which he can succeed at, but it also gives you the best opportunity to maybe get that one mistake, and then you take it to the house or whatever it may be, and that sets Denver up for a potential victory. But I agree. I think it is going to be a pretty close game, and I will take the Buffalo Bills in this one.
And let me clarify. Obviously, I knew it was James Cook, and I didn't need to say it, but thank you for saying it.
You got it. You got it.
I couldn't think of his first name. I kept saying Dalvin, and then I was like, Cook. I was going Cook. I could have think
it gets different. It's the McDonald and McDaniel and McDaniels thing too. I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah.
The nightcap that evening is the Seattle Seahawks playing host to the San Francisco 49ers, setting up a nice little rematch from the regular season series. Seattle favored by 7.5 points. That is a George Kittle spread if I've ever seen one. I am curious what it would have been. I think he gets a few points there. Probably would have been 4.5 if George Kittle was healthy for this game.
It's disrespectful. It's a little disrespectful.
It's a little disrespectful, man. I think the 49ers have been playing some of the best football over the last month than any other team. They've overcame so much.
Yeah.
They did need a little bit of luck last week, but they still pulled it out against the defending Super Bowl champions in Philly, a really tough place to play. So yeah, they're in Seattle, a really tough place to play, but it's a place they're way more familiar with than Philly.
Yeah, and 7.5 for a division game is
crazy.
Like it's just a lot. My gut says take the points, but I'm going to pick Seattle to win. You know what I mean? Like my gut says it's going to be 27-30. You know what I mean? 27-24. It's going to be a close game. Take the points. But
Yeah.
I do think Seattle's going to win this game. I don't think a team like San Francisco can just keep doing this. The injuries are just, it's so incredible. The mounting injuries. And when you have to then go to division rival who's completely rested, completely healthy, uh, I like Seattle to win. I think Seattle will probably start slow. It wouldn't shock me at halftime if this game is 17-10 Niners and there's maybe Darnold threw a pick and it's like, oh, we're feeling tight. I think eventually Seattle warms up, their defense locks in, and then Darnold realizes I have way more weapons than needed. I got two healthy, great running backs. I have Jackson Smith and Jigba. I have a young tight end in Barner who's becoming a stud. I have a really solid offensive line against a defense that can't get a pass rush. I think Seattle comes alive second half. They take the lead, and then Purdy throws an interception because he's trying to force a ball. I think this game is going to be won by Seattle, but I definitely think if you're giving me 7.5 points with the Niners in a divisional game, I'm absolutely taking the 7.5 points.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with a lot of what you said there. I too am going to take Seattle in this game, and the big reason too is I think there's a lot more margin for error in Seattle than there is for the 49ers. Now, the
Great
49ers proved this past week that they can overcome some interceptions and still win the game. But the Seattle Seahawks have proved multiple times this year that they can have um, duds of a half, an entire half from Sam Darnold, and still win. We saw the 13-3 victory over the Rams most recently that looked like a total shit show, and yet Seattle was able to pull it out in the end because their defense held the Rams to 3 points. They can go toe-to-toe with any type of offense in the league, and I just think that makes them too dangerous. You pair that with the lack of George Kittle in this game, I think that's just a lot to overcome for the 49ers, to your point. And again, tough environment. Like you put all of that together, it's going to be a difficult out. I will take the points for San Fran. I just don't see this. It's going to be a close game. I think it probably a 4-point game by the end of it. I
Yeah.
could see this one being a 31-27 type of game. So I do think the 49ers are going to put up a fight, and I think they'll
Oh,
give
yeah.
fits. And I'm sure Sam Darnold will probably make a boneheaded play or two that's going to keep this one tight. But yeah, I got to give the nod to Seattle. And they're coming into this very well rested, where 49ers are clearly banged
And
up
run
and kicked
short
around.
rest. The 49ers played Sunday. They got to play Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Crazy.
It's too difficult. Patriots host the Texans on Sunday, first game there. Patriots are getting 3 points at home in this game. Very interesting matchup, I would say. What I would consider run of the mill or maybe slightly above average defense. The Patriots defense has certainly been playing a lot better as of recently, and against a bad Texans offense, I would say at this point, especially without Nico Collins.
So,
And then on the flip side, the best defense versus a really, potent MVP type led Patriots offense. So, two of the best units going head to head, and then two of the more average to below average units in this playoff landscape going at it. So, who are you going to give the edge to when it's all said and done?
yeah.
The trend that we've talked about, who's got the best quarterback? I'm going Patriots.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Patriots. I'll take the Patriots. I'll swallow the points. I think it's
Yeah, me
24-13, 24-17. I think that it'll be really close. I think you'll have a third quarter where it's 10-10, maybe 13-10 Patriots, and then all of a sudden the Patriots get a play, they get an interception, they get one of those fumbles. Something happens. The Texans go for it on fourth down because they're getting desperate, and then the Patriots, Drake May runs the ball. You get a big run from Stevenson. Something happens, and all of a sudden the Patriots kind of comfortably pull away in the fourth quarter, home field advantage. It's going to be cold, very cold in Sunday in the North. We'll talk about that coming up for my game. And I think that's going to play a huge factor for the dome team Texans without their best weapon in Nico Collins. It wouldn't shock me if the Texans win. They're very experienced and they have the best, unit left in the AFC, which is that defense. It is phenomenal. I think, though, when you take out Nico Collins and you give home field to the Patriots, and the Patriots is a good football team, a really solid, good football team. I think this game looks a lot like the Chargers game. I think it's just kind of ugly for one team. It's not great for the other team because they're going to give us a really great unit, but the Patriots just find a way to win, and I just don't think the Texans are going to score enough.
I think Drake May's ability to scramble is going to be very big in this one because that does seem
Huge.
to be the way to combat the Texans' pass rush is find those lanes or even just extend plays. That's going to be the method here. And Drake May, he just showed last week, the guy's got some wheels. He can make it happen. And so where I think that was a big downfall for Aaron Rodgers, just that inability to create more time for yourself. Drake May certainly has that ability, and that's going to lend himself well to potentially getting a victory here against that great unit. All right, let's end it with the Bears, man. They get to play another home playoff game, which is awesome.
Yes, they do.
Oh wow, that was wild. We're back though. So okay. Bears hosting the Rams. The Rams coming in on the road as 3.5-point favorites against your Chicago Bears. I'm very intrigued by this matchup as well. This is going to be, aside from being excited to watch the Bears play football again. This is the game I am most excited to watch because of the matchup on paper. Rams, Bears. What a great, awesome, matchup to have in this divisional round in Chicago. That's going to be great. Matt Stafford returning to Chicago, a place he's familiar with as well. So, look, the Bears cannot turn the ball over in this game because the odds of them getting Matt Stafford to make a mistake, I think is pretty minimal, right? So you guys can't bank on getting a turnover yourselves, despite that unit being very good at it. I think it's going to have to be clean football, and I think the Bears are really going to have to run the football very well and control the clock to win this game.
Well, listen, I thought the Bears had to win the turnover battle in every game, and they lost the turnover battle 2-0 to Green Bay and found a way to win that game. So the Bears keep surprising me, right? Like they keep surprising me. Did you see the stat going around that the Rams have never played the same team in the playoffs under Sean McVay?
They've played a different team in every playoff game they've played in.
Listen to this. In 2017, his first year, they made the playoffs. They played the Falcons. They lost. That was when the Falcons went on to go. Yeah. They lost that Super Bowl. In 2018, they played bowl and they went through the Cowboys, the Saints, and the Patriots. They lost the Patriots. 2020, they're back in the playoffs. They played the Seahawks and the Packers. 2021, they're back in the playoffs. They played the Cardinals, the Buccaneers, the 49ers, and then they beat the Bengals.
That's crazy.
2023, they lost to the Lions and Jared Goff. 2024, they beat the Vikings, lost to the Eagles. And in 2025, Panthers and Bears. It's an insane.
There's no way that there's been that long of a run in NFL history.
It's got to be. It's got to be insane. The Chicago Bears have 7 come from behind fourth quarter wins this year. That is underselling the Bears. Listen to this. The Chicago Bears have 7 wins in games they've trailed in the final 2 minutes. That's never happened in NFL history in one season. If the Bears are down by 7 points or less in the 2 minutes, they're going to win the game. I'm confident of that. They're going to win the game if they can be within that. Here's what I think the game will look like. It will be a wind chill of 0 or maybe in the negatives on Sunday night in Chicago when this game tips off. Sun will be setting. It'll be tip off just about 5:30 Central Time. That means the sun's going to be setting. The high that day is like 20. And that's like the daytime high, and that doesn't include the winds and the wind chill. The coldest game the Rams have played in so far this season has been like outside temperature was like 50 degrees. All of that is one of the main reasons why the Chicago Bears should not build a dome and stay in downtown Chicago. But I digress. That's a whole nother conversation. That has to be huge. The weather is a huge factor for this game. Home field for Chicago is a huge factor. Al Michaels said it, and I've heard multiple other people talk about it. They have never felt the stadium shake the way it did. The home crowd was terrific.
Yeah.
And the home crowd's
Do you
going
think they can match that against a non-Packers opponent?
I think they can because it's still the playoffs. And honestly, Dan, the Rams fans don't really travel. Right? Like,
right. Yeah.
There was Packers fans in Chicago.
Who's going to want to go from LA to
there was Chicago? Packers fans in Chicago. How many Rams fans are making it out for the 0-degree weather in Chicago on a Sunday night? I think it's going to be a real home field advantage. I think that's going to play a huge factor. How the matchups go, here's what I think the Bears can do well. They can do well what the Panthers did well. The Bears wide receivers are very good, like T-Mac and like the Panthers they can win one-on-one matchups against that Rams defense. The difference being, which concerns me, is the Rams defense can really rush the passer. Now, Caleb negates a ton of that because he's so mobile.
No Trapillo.
And we see that, but no Trapillo. So there's all of this mix of factors. I think it's going to be big play after big play. I think you're going to see Stafford and Caleb throw for each over 250 yards. I think there's going to be wide open guys. I think the cold is going to impact the Rams. I don't think it's going to impact Chicago. But I think the Rams have more talent in a lot of key positions. So all of that factors in. I do think the Chicago Bears will be able to run the ball effectively if they commit to the run. I think that I see some weaknesses in the Rams defense that allows the Bears to do that. And if your starting left tackle is down, I do think Ben Johnson is going to have a game plan to have Cole Kmet stay a lot on that, two tight ends, keep him in there to chip. And listen, if you have a weakness at left tackle, run the fucking football. And the Bears can do it. Right. We saw what they did to the Eagles this year. That is in them. It really is. So I think all of that's going to play a factor. And I do think what the Bears realize too is that, again, if Jordan Love did that to them in the first half, playing man coverage, Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams and Matt Stafford are going to do that tenfold. So you have to control the football. You have to run the football. And then Caleb's going to have to make special plays. I'm taking the Bears to win. I think the cold, the home field gives me confidence they can do that. Caleb gives me confidence they can do that. I think the Bears, well, if the Bears win this game, the game is going to look something like
35.
I was going to say like 30. I was getting like 30-24.
Yeah.
Where it's 21-21. We kick a field goal. They kick a field goal. The Bears, get a touchdown late because Caleb is magical. And then Stafford throws a pick late because it's in the cold and they're forcing it. And the Bears defense seems to play a lot better. I don't see this game as a Rams blowout. I'll tell you why, and I think it's mainly because of the cold. Like, I really think it's because of the home and the cold.
Look, they put up 3 points against Seattle like a couple weeks ago. We know that's on the table.
I also think the Bears are prepared for a Sean McVay offense in the sense that it's a lot like a Matt LaFleur offense. They're very, very similar. The difference being the wide receiver core is elite for the Rams, but I think the difference also being for the Bears is, if you take that second half game plan and you play a little bit more zone and you try to maybe bring a little bit more heat and get up to the pressure, that plays a factor. Also, Matt Stafford injured his pointer finger on his throwing hand. It has been in a splint. It's not broken, but they had to do x-rays. It hurt enough for that. In the cold, wind is going to be a factor. The reason it's so cold is because the wind chill. Caleb has a rocket. Now, Stafford does too, but if Stafford has any sort of hand and my finger hurts and it's cold, all of that, listen, I'm digging here. if the Rams win, I think it's been because the magic runs out for Chicago, right? I think it's just they cannot stop in the second half Devontae
Mm.
Adams and Puka Nacua the way the Bears stopped Christian Watson and Jalen Reed and all those guys for the Packers, right? I think that's how the magic runs out. I think the magic runs out because then it's the Bears, it's 17-17 in the third quarter, and Matt Stafford at the end of the third quarter goes on a touchdown drive. The Bears go 3 and out. Matt Stafford goes on another touchdown drive. Now it's 31 set, now it's what would that be? 34-17, and it's just Caleb maybe scores another touchdown, but the Rams kick a field goal, and they can't get enough stops. That's how the Bears lose this game. But I don't think that happens because I think the finger, the wind, the cold all help the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, they do.
And so that's what I'm banking on. That's what I'm praying on. And I think the Bears find a way to win at home.
I love it. I'm certainly going to be rooting for that, but I think I'm taking the Rams to win it because I just think the worst unit on the field and to be honest, maybe the worst unit in the playoffs.
The Bears defense.
Now maybe the Texans offense could be in that mix too, but
It's
yeah,
close.
Bears defense against MVP Stafford and that team. You make great points about the injury, and if that hampers him even a little bit, then that could play a big factor.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna ride with the Stafford and that duo to be able to just put enough together, and also the experience, McVay's experience, Stafford's experience. I think there's something to be said for that in these moments when things get real tight. Now, obviously, the Bears have been tested and they've come through, but Stafford and McVay have years and years of playoff experience and chemistry between them.
Yeah.
I do feel like I got to lean with the Rams on this one, but I'm going to be rooting like hell for the Bears to win this game. And how cool would it be if we're talking next week about the Bears being one game away from a freaking Super Bowl?
Oh, man.
When we didn't know who their head coach was going to be just a year ago when Matt Eberflus was at the helm.
I will say this. I'll kind of wrap on this point. One thing that I'm going to lean on as well is I know for a fact that Ben Johnson, because I've seen it against the Eagles, can devise a game plan where we have Caleb throw the ball less than 15 times and we dominate the football game running the ball.
Yeah, that's what they're going to have to do for sure.
In that weather and in that scenario at home, if the Bears start running for 4 or 5 yards a clip early on and they are taking chunks, and then Swift pops one for 20 yards a touchdown, it's 7-0 early in the first, and it's like, oh shit, the Chicago Bears are going to man football this game in the cold. I could see certain Rams players maybe starting to check out and be like, I'm going to huddle by the heater. I don't know for a fact that Sean McVay can look away from Stafford and away from Nacua and away from Adams and say, shit, we got to run the ball 30 times this game with Williams and Blake Corum. You know what I mean? I just don't know if that's in him to do that. It wasn't in LaFleur. LaFleur was in shotgun in the cold and with Josh Jacobs, the best back of all of the backs we talked about, and just did not commit to running the football to milk that clock and win that game. And so that's another thing I'm just trying to talk it out and convince myself of. I think that's a realistic game plan for how this game could go. Totally. If the Bears lose this game, I don't think it'll be an embarrassing fashion. I do think they can hang with this team, mainly because of Caleb. And I think, listen, he's the type of player right now where it feels like the dam broke. You beat the Packers, you got one. This kid is capable of some really special things.
Yeah. No, he definitely is. I can't wait for that game. It's
get Rome Odunze and Luther Burden going. Get Rome and Luther. I love Colson Loveland. The kid is a stud. Let's get those horses running on the outside.
It's going to be a great weekend, capping off with the best game of the weekend as well. So can't wait for that. Excited to talk football once again next week, and we've got 2 more weekends of football before the Super Bowl. So we're going to soak it up. Hope you all are going to enjoy it this weekend as well. And We'll be back here next week to talk divisional round and preview the AFC and NFC championship games. Awesome. Can't believe we made it here and excited to see what's in store ahead. Enjoy some football, and we'll see you back here next week.